In this video, we're going to talk about 5 ways that you as an educator and school counselor can avoid and prevent burnout. February and October are really hard months for educators, and there's some educational research behind that. So when educators start in August, they're enthusiastic, they have all these great ideas and lots of energy because they've had rest over the summer. But by October, that starts to dwindle down, and the reality of it starts to hit. The workload, the student needs, the admin, paperwork, all those things start to pile up. Student behaviors spike in October and March because they start testing boundaries. Additionally, there's a high number of teacher resignations. The highest number of mid-year teacher resignations occurs in October, according to Education Week 2022. And survey data, according to the RAND Corporation, found that 25% of teachers considered leaving their job by October, citing stress and exhaustion. Then we get to February and you have the winter slump. By February, teachers have been teaching for months without a break, and that long stretch between now and spring break is starting to get worse and worse. Additionally, some educators experience SAD, seasonal affective disorder, which research shows that teachers are more prone to seasonal affective disorder, which peaks in January and February due to a lack of sunlight and colder weather. So just a quick summary, October and February are really hard times of the year for educators. They need extra support and ways to handle this stress and deal with burnout before it completely consumes and overtakes them. So let's discuss these coping mechanisms to help you reduce stress and anxiety. The Circle of Control is a powerful resource and activity that educators can use for themselves and teach students. You can go on Teachers Pay Teachers and download a free or inexpensive copy, or you can create your own on Canva. But this activity and intervention encourages educators to really only focus on the things that are within their control. So you've probably seen this before, and the way I use it, and I'm telling you seriously, I use this all the time. I may not actually write it out, but I'm thinking in my head. So you think about the things that are inside your control, which are your feelings, your lesson planning, your classroom environment, how you respond and treat others. Those are things that are within your control. But there are things outside of your control, such as sometimes the cafeteria is noisy or the copy machine is broken. Although these things are stressful, you have to really dial in and say, you know what, that is out of my control. There's nothing I can do about it. I just need to adapt and pivot. And although that can be hard, it's easier said than done. It helps me. A real life example, which is one I just shared, there are times when sometimes I'll go down the hallway, and this is not at my current school, this is other schools that I worked at, where something will completely be going wrong, where students will be running down the hallway or misbehaving or doing all kinds of different things. And because I'm not an administrator, I'm a school counselor and I don't deal with discipline, I can correct student behavior, but it is overwhelming trying to constantly correct students who are running in the hallway or cursing at each other, because guess what? If you're in middle school, curse words fly out of their mouths so easily. It's literally like they're sailors, the way that their language they're using. I can only do what I can do and only focus on the things that are within my control. And so this really helps me to prevent burnout, because it helps me really dial in and focus on the things that I can do to make myself feel better when the world is shattering around me. And so this can work in the school setting, but it also can work with the things that are going on in the world. All right, so another thing that you can do is mindfulness meditation. And this can work from so many different ways. As counselors, we teach our students mindfulness and deep breathing, but we can do those same things. Every morning before I start my day, I do a couple deep breaths, or you can look around the room and you can do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the 5 things you hear, see, smell, taste, and touch with your senses. Or you can do like box breathing or elevator breathing, all those different things that we teach our students. You can also use apps on your phone like Headspace or Calm to help you with mindfulness meditation. Even if you play some soft music and just give yourself some time to really process what's going on and your emotions. Find a couple minutes throughout the day, even if it's during a transition period, or you take a couple minutes to eat your lunch, which is another thing that I do for my mental health. During lunch, there are so many people who I see in Facebook groups are saying, I didn't get a chance to eat lunch that day. That is rare for me. I'm going to eat my lunch. I will find time, whether it's 10 or 15 minutes, I'll go in my office, close my door, put on Hulu or Netflix for a couple minutes, and just give myself some time to relax and decompress. During that time, I'm not checking work emails. I'm not working on things that need to be done. I'm literally taking the time for myself. Tip number 3 is one of my favorites, and it talks about setting healthy boundaries at work. Y'all, it is okay to say no. You are going to be given so many different tasks that you need to do, or feel like you're overwhelmed because you got a lot on your plate. You can delegate or flat out tell someone no. It's just how you deliver the message. I never say no without giving an alternative or some type of compromise, but sometimes when I'm overwhelmed and busy, I have to tell people, no, I'm not able to do that at this moment. Here's someone who can help you, or if you can give me some time, at some point I can circle back to you. Or just simply say I don't have the capacity to do it right now. Nobody can get mad at you about that, and if they do, that's their problem, not yours. Which goes back to that circle of control activity we talked about, right? Another thing that I do to protect my time and energy is when I leave the workhouse, when I leave the school, I do not check emails. I don't think about the school setting. I don't worry about students. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way. These children, they go through so much, and you can experience compassion fatigue and burnout simply by secondhand compassion, knowing what they're going through and feeling for them. But you have to protect your own energy. You have family that you have to go home to, or pets or friends that you have to be there for. And so you don't have the time, the space, and the capacity to hold on to things that don't belong to you. And so one thing that helps me is when I leave the school, I don't think about work whatsoever. There are times when in my first and second year of a school counselor, I would go home and there would be times when it would be hard for me to go to sleep at night because I'm focusing on what needs to be done the next day, or I'm thinking about that parent that reached out to me at 9 o'clock at night. Then I check that email mistakenly. That's something I just don't do anymore. I don't check emails, by the way, at night. And I don't even have the email app on my phone for my work. That's another boundary that I set for myself. But I create a shutdown ritual. So when I get in my car, I'm listening to my music, I'm listening to my podcast, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing things for myself, and I'm not focused on school. I'd advise you do the same. Figure out what works for you. And again, if you're overwhelmed with tasks at work, delegate. Ask somebody for help. You are not Superman or Superwoman or super person, and you can't do everything all on your own. As much as you try, you can set to-do lists, and I do it too. I create to-do lists every single day, but there's some days I get it all done. There's some days I get 2 out of 5 things done. There's some days I don't get anything done whatsoever, but I'm doing something productive. So you just have to learn how to adjust and pivot in this role. That's one of the flexibilities and the beauties of our role as a school counselor, the adaptability part of it, and that no day is the same. Another thing that I do, tip number 4, is I set intentional breaks for myself. When I become overwhelmed and I need to get up and stretch, I'll do that sometimes, or I'll dance in my office, or I'll be silly, or I'll laugh, or I'll get up and go for a walk. The best thing you can do for yourself and your mental health is go work outside. Take your computer and your notebook and just go work outside for a few minutes and get some fresh air and some sunlight. Hopefully you're in a space where it's some great weather and some sun, but this works tremendously for me. And sometimes when I'm in an office with a student and we're doing an individual counseling session, I'll tell them, hey, Johnny, do you mind going for a walk with me? Let's go walk around the baseball field or the soccer field for a few minutes, or the football field, and just get some fresh air. And that's a great way for you and the student to take a break. Another thing that I do to break up the monotony if I need a break from my office is I'll go check on some students. I'll go visit a classroom, like a fine arts classroom, and I'll listen to them play music like the violin and orchestra. Or I'll go to an art classroom and I'll just sit down and draw with my students. It's a great way to connect with them, especially if you've built a relationship with that teacher where you can come in and not interrupt their class. It's great for the students and it's great for you. Another thing that I've learned how to do over my years as a school counselor is do one thing at a time. I used to think that I was a multitasking king, but I have learned that I don't like multitasking anymore. I like to sit down and do one thing, finish it, and then move on to the next. Because I've found for me specifically, when I'm working on multiple things all at once, I might leave out details or I might not do something to the best of my ability. And I work in excellence. And if I don't feel like what I'm doing is up to par for me, I'm kind of a perfectionist and I'll keep doing it over and over until I get it right. So I like to focus on what I can do and get it all done as much as possible. Keeping in mind that when you work in a school, there will be interruptions. And that's one of the things that I'm working on with myself too. I don't like to be interrupted, but I know as a school counselor, you will be interrupted. A student can come in with a trauma or a crisis, or a teacher may need something, or you just have to get up because the bell's ringing and you got to transition and help the students go through the hallway and get to class. Those things happen. But again, I create my to-do list. I try to knock out the big rocks for the day. The people that I need to see or interact with, the students I need to check on, or the district mandated things I need to get done. And then all those other things, I do them as I go. One other thing, I can't remember this technique, but They always say if you can do it within 5 minutes or a couple minutes, just go on and do it. Like, for example, if you read an email and you don't feel like responding to it, but you know you need to, instead of saying I'll respond to it later, if it's quick, go ahead and respond to it now and knock that thing out so you don't have to even think about it later. That's an easy tip for you. Remember also to give yourself grace. You are doing an amazing job. You may not feel like it, and you may have those days where you don't feel like you've done anything or gotten anything accomplished, but I promise you have. Think about that student who you saw in the hallway, who you gave a fist bump to, or you smiled to, or they gave you a hug randomly. Like, those are the best hugs, by the way. And I have middle schoolers. They would sometimes still come up and randomly give me a hug. But again, these are the things that really matter, and these are the things that help you get throughout the day. Focus on those small wins that you accomplish throughout the day, and it's going to help you reduce burnout and help you be more effective on your job. Again, this is a time of year where burnout is prevalent, and you got to do things to take care of yourself. What was your favorite tip from this video? What is something that you do to decrease stress, anxiety, and reduce burnout? So after watching this video, check out this video on the screen. There's an activity that you can do with your staff during a quick staff development meeting or a PD or a staff meeting after work. It's a quick, fun activity that'll get your teachers engaged and help them understand how to reduce anxiety and burnout and how to take care of themselves, the importance of it. So check out this video on the screen and let me know what you think.